Frontier Gentleman. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter
for Fox 2 News,
he writes his colorful and unusual story. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. Now, starring
Amal Alric.
This is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentleman.
You ass interrogative.
Get your finger out of my face. Get your finger out of my face.
Take the first shot, then if you want to,
Get your finger out of my face.
It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Alric?
Welcome to ML Soul of Detroit, where they have a very special guest. This is sort of like being at work, except I'm at my other job because we're joined this week by Mr. Rob Wolchek.
Hey.
The denizen, the master, the mayor.
That's me.
Of the Hall of Shame.
That is me.
And of course, Mark Fellhauer, the co-host of the Charlotte and Dad podcast, Drew and Mike podcast, some sort of bondage podcast. It's rolling out soon.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes, and well, you don't want to know what kind of trades he's jacking. And our patron, and recently the subject of a glowing profile in the Detroit News, which revealed the great tidbit. We all knew you played baseball at Virginia Tech, but we had no idea you're the captain of the team, captain of this ship of fools, Mr. Drew Lane.
Wow, I don't know where he found that out. I did not tell him that.
But you were the captain.
I was the captain.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That's funny. I never knew that either until that article.
I was the captain for 2 years.
So humble.
I knew it. I've investigated. I know everything about it.
You've tried busting him?
I got everything. I got all the dirt. Yeah, he was a captain, all right. There's a lot of other things he did, too.
We're here for a very special episode of ML Soul of Detroit with Rob Wolchek talking about some of his greatest hits, some of his greatest hits, and his very first confrontation. So, Rob, why don't you tell us how you got this whole thing started? Because you just celebrated an anniversary. It was 75 years at Fox 2.
That's right. You're in the holy shit.
Happy anniversary, a-hole.
Yeah, I don't have any. I didn't celebrate any anniversary. I've been at Fox 2 for 21 years. I don't know, something like that.
It was the 20-year Hall of Shame anniversary.
Yeah. So I guess Well, that was last year. I don't know.
Yeah, but we're gonna put a link to that on our website so that we can get double-digit viewing on that.
Yeah, I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on. I don't believe that's online.
Really?
Yeah, it's not online.
Was it like some quality control or something?
Yeah, it should have asked me that when we weren't on the air. It's not online.
Well, we rolled on all that other tape. We'll be using that depending how the rest of this goes.
That's a great point, though, ML. The internet does have great quality control.
Yes. That's the new Nancy Pelosi video, I understand, they've now debunked, but they're like, yeah, we'll keep it up.
I saw someone was being badgered by someone about why Facebook left it up. Why did Facebook leave the video up? Why did they choose to do that?
Probably because it's driving some traffic.
Yeah, well, also that it's
silly me.
Free speech, I suppose.
I can't figure out Facebook. I'm not sure anybody can. I know that they're still making money hand over fist no matter what they do. Even when they pay billion-dollar fines, they're still doing very well. They've actually, after saying they were going to try and clean up their algorithms so that they would drive traffic to more reliable news sources, they've made it very, very difficult for people to find stories from our station and from newspapers. They've actually made it harder for users of Facebook to get access to reliable, responsible news outlets like Fox 2 and our local newspapers. So
was that intentional?
Well, they're the ones who changed the formula, and I know that the media has complained to them like, hey, wait a minute, we were supposed to be your partners. You're supposed to help us figure out how to benefit from this platform. And ever since they told us that, people have changed the way they post things and do things, and Facebook just pulled the rug right out from under us.
I was just watching one of Rob's.
Fake news lives, the real news withers.
I was just watching a Hall of Shame piece that had 277,000 views, and I know you've got views over 1 million. Oh, you guys have some incredibly viral stories over there. Why would they screw with that? Of course, they can always blame the algorithm. That's nice to be. We've got to come up with algorithms we can blame for everything.
I don't think that the television business has really figured out the internet. And that's what I think it comes down to. And I think that they thought they had figured out the internet when Facebook used to really promote our stories.
Right.
But what has happened is that for whatever reason, Facebook wants to promote, I had a cheese sandwich for lunch. Here's my cheese sandwich or whatever. They're trying to make it more
especially if there's a mouse in it that jumps out into someone's mouth
stuff,
and they choke on it.
I don't know.
And then they shoot 40 people with a mouse stuck in their throat.
Well, whatever.
Well, I want to promote a little something here that I think is in everybody's interest, whether it's an algorithm or big data or whatever. And that's our friends at Hall Financial, who are responsible for this show and many others at the Red Shovel Network being on the air. We can't emphasize enough how important people like David Hall are to our survival, taking a chance on this new form of media, donating organs to our hosts who need them. I'm not saying anything about Charlie's liver, but Dave, please try and eat right. If you want to refinance your home, Hall Financial would love to save you money or even your life. You can email David at dhall@hallfg.com or call Hall Financial at 248-308-5000. Maybe it's your first home or your dream home. Maybe you want to take money out of your home. Give David Hall a chance and get lower rates, better options, and more personal attention. They have over 600 five-star reviews. Industry average for a refi is 44 days. Yes, we're reusing Jan Galaboski because he still sucks. Hall Financial average is 19 days. That's still the captain and always will be because that number will never yet be assigned. Again, they will fight for you even if you have a dent in your credit history. Email at dhall@hallfg.com or call 248-308-5000 and thank them for giving the Soul of Detroit a chance to stick around a while. Tell Dave ML sent you.
When I go down there to do a Hall of Shame, I'll say, ML sent me. No. I don't have anything against those guys. I don't know anything about them.
It might be a good time to leave us
I just thought I'd throw that in there just to give you guys
That's when you say Eli, Denny, and Bob sent me.
No, I'd say ML sent me. I would definitely say, you said it. Said no, I'm not doing a story on that.
Well, one of my favorite confrontations you've ever done was when you followed a guy all the way through a building.
Okay.
Robert. You remember him? Can I use his full name?
Robert.
Mr. Robert.
Well, I followed him.
Let's say Bob. You followed him through his office building, and you're going on every floor, and then you got to the end, and you're like, "Hey, we've run out of places to go. Are you going to answer some questions?"
His name wasn't Robert. His name was. Oh my goodness! Now you screwed me up because I remember all these guys' names.
How far did you follow Mike Skupin, by the way? Because he didn't have his driver's license, and so he was going to leave in his truck. He said, "Hey, you don't have a driver's license," and he started walking.
Okay, well let's talk about it. If we want to go into some of these confrontations that we've had, and this was something that ML and I were talking about off the air, and I think you and I, Drew. There's a lot that goes into these things, and people may say, "Oh, I know Rob Wolchek. He goes up and he busts those bad guys. He gets in their face. Blah 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 blah." Right?
Yeah.
Mike Skupin is a perfect example of how I really don't do that. Okay, first off, I gave Mike Skupin the opportunity to contact me before I ever met up with him. I went to his house. I sent him Facebook messages. He didn't respond. He was at his house. I knew he was at his house because I saw him go into the house, and he didn't respond. So
it was a house of skank, too, wasn't it? Just a wreck.
Yeah, it was a bad house. Yeah, it was a foreclosed house. He hadn't paid the mortgage for several years, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I get him coming out of the courthouse, and he's got a big smile on his face. And I said to him, "Hey, Mike, I'm here to talk to you about your investment deal." And I'm very nice to him. Fill me in a little bit. Well, it says on your paperwork it was approved by the Attorney General's office. Which Attorney General's office? Right? And then he says, "Do your research." And then I said, well, it says here, blah, 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 blah. And then he would say, "Do your research, Rob. I can't believe you're talking to me." And so he was a total jackass to me, right? So I was professional. I asked him direct questions. And then finally, when it became clear that he wasn't getting anywhere, he started being an ass to me. And then I kind of jumped all over him. So the point is that when you're trying to do these things, I'm very well researched. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm going to ask him. I go in with a plan knowing that if he says this, I'm going to ask him this. If he says that, I'm going to ask him that. You have to think on your feet. And I try to be nice to them because I'm trying to get them to talk to me. I want to hear their side of the story. So what happens is a lot of times they lie and they get themselves in trouble. Then they realize that they're in trouble, and then they start pushing and shoving and yelling and all that.
The amazing thing to me is the mental callous that you've built up to it, because there was a Home Depot confrontation where the guy looked like he was about to hit you with a metal rod, and you didn't flinch one bit.
Well, I kind of flinched when he almost hit me. I mean, I ducked.
Really?
I definitely, that's another one of the interesting things. I knew this guy because I had done stories on him before. I knew he was going to come out hot. I certainly thought he may come after me, and he did. And he came right at me, and he started charging at me, and then you're in the position of, well, what do I do here? I can't hit him over the head with a microphone. I can't run away like a sissy boy. So I stood there, and I tried to talk to him, and I talked him down, and he swung at me a couple of times, and I ducked, and I said, hey, don't do that. You're on probation. You're going to get in big trouble. And I continued trying to talk to him, and, finally did calm him down and talk to him and got his side of the story and the whole bit, and it made for good TV, and I didn't get hit.
Have you ever been hit?
I've been pushed around and stuff. I've been pushed around. If that guy came close to hitting me,
usually they go after the cameraman, which is great video.
And he was gone after the cameraman too. But I always try to protect the cameraman, so I get in between the two of them. I've never really had a cameraman get hit either. But there's definitely been times when it's hairy, it's hair raising going out there, and you're putting people on the spot and tricking them into talking. That's the whole thing. What I like to consider myself good at, and I know that you guys probably don't want me to put down Channel 4 and 7, and nobody wants me to put down Channel 4 and 7.
I'm pretty okay with that.
Okay, well, anyway. Anyways, this is
Channel 50 in there too.
This is a confrontation on some of the other stations, and not in all cases, because I have respect for some of the other reporters, but oftentimes you get shot of the back of the head. I tell my cameraman, I don't want a shot of the back of the head. I don't want a shot of the guy walking in the door and me knocking on the door. Hey, blah, 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 blah. I don't want a shot.
I know you're in there.
So we work very hard at getting people into positions where they're going to be able to talk. And I usually like to think of a way to get somebody to talk. So I'll give you an example. We had a guy who was he was a rock musician. He had played in a couple of bands, and he had a couple of albums out. And he also, what I was doing the story on him for was that he had this ranch, and there were a bunch of decapitated cows on his ranch and sickly cows, and he was letting the pigs eat his cows. And so it was, all of his neighbors were appalled, and it was disgusting. And so I went up to him, and so I thought, how am I going to get this guy to talk to me? And he
was this the Saab Beeger story that you did?
Who's that?
I'm just changing the name to protect the innocent.
Yeah, whatever. So
Spruce Ringstein.
No,
okay.
No, this guy was kind of he was a dark metal guy. He was a little bit. I'm a big music fan, but I was not familiar with
Tresner.
Yeah, something.
I was expecting a middle of the road guy with the chopped off cows' heads.
Yeah.
And
No, this guy,
Son Davidson,
Amy Grant.
Anyways, my point
Ed Sheeran.
My point is to get this guy to talk, and I put a lot of thought into this, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get this guy halfway between his car and the courthouse where he was going, right? You don't want to get him right when they get out of the car, because then he's just going to get back in his car. You don't want to get him right when he's at the courthouse door, because then he's just going to run inside there. So you get him halfway between. And so I asked him, and this was a pre-calculated question that I came up with, and I said, hey, Steve, are you a rocker or are you a rancher? Right? Great alliteration.
Sure.
Direct question. And it appealed to his ego. So he's like, oh, well, that depends, And he starts talking about, I played in a rock band, and I was, and I've got this farm, and blah, blah, blah. And so you get him to open up. So that's what I consider a good opening question. You don't want to go up and start saying, hey, I
Why
know
are you
you're
such a son of a bitch?
Yeah, I know you're a bad guy. I know you took the money. I know you stole that money from that little old lady, this and that. You go up and you say, hey, how's the business going? And you ask them that kind of thing. And if you have a question where you can kind of put it where they're going to be interested in it. So it's calculated.
I wonder why the guy thought a TV station would find whether he rocked, ranched, or both of any interest. I mean, it's funny that he think, hey, it's my moment on Fox 2. This is great.
Well, because you're appealing to their ego. I mean, you look at these guys, and I mean, I tell you, I'm working on a story right now, and I'm working on the psychology of this guy. What's going to get this guy to talk to me? And I'm appealing to his ego. He appears to have a large ego. He appeals to think everybody did him wrong. So I'm working on what my approach would be, and it will probably be something along like, man, you're a guy who just seems to have gotten a bad deal in life. And I think he's going to go, finally, somebody recognizes
See
that,
it my way.
And you're a successful businessman and everybody's all over your shit. I wouldn't say that because I'd be on TV, all over your case, right? And then I think he's going to end up talking to me. Whereas if I just walked up to him and said, you're a bad business guy. So there's a lot of work and planning that goes into these. I mean, I know people like to watch the Hall of Shame and they think, man, I'd like to have that job. Oh, that job's got to be cool, man. You just go up and mess with people and all this kind of stuff. But it's a hard job, and I've done it for a long time. And quite frankly, I'm good at it because I work really hard at it. It's not easy.
Don't you have to have sort of a question that you have to get out no matter what, just for legal reasons? Like if they're accused of doing something or the people you're talking to say they wronged them in some way, don't you have to get that out there kind of early in case they slam the door in your face? You can't be like, oh, I didn't get the chance to ask him why he cheated his grandma.
Right. Well,
I mean, you gotta
that's
sort
where
of figure out how much time you have before they're going to get to a safe place.
That's where you have to think on your feet.
Right.
You have to think on your feet, and from doing this as well. If the guy's giving you the cold shoulder and he says, F you, get away from me, this and that, then you got to go straight to the question that legally you have to ask, did you steal the money? And then
give him a chance to answer it.
Right, and give him the chance to answer it, So it all depends, But I mean, if you feel like you're working people, and I also think that part of my thing is that I think I come off as a nice guy, I come off as a fair guy, and sometimes I come off as kind of a dumb guy. And so I think they think, a lot of times these guys think they're smarter than everybody else. And I don't think I'm smarter than everybody else. I don't consider myself to be some kind of brilliant guy or anything like that.
I've watched you on television. You're a real beauty.
Thank you.
Regarding the psychology of the people you bust, I think one of the most interesting people that you've busted was Dwight Inge, quote unquote, who pretended to be Brandon Inge's dad.
Right.
What was the update on him? Because didn't you bust him a few years later? And do you have any idea where he is today?
I only did the one story on the guy.
Okay.
That was one of those stories that was controversial because people thought I was picking on an elderly gentleman that perhaps had some type of dementia or something like that. First off, I called him by his regular name, which I don't even remember what it was.
Ralph Cruzio.
Yeah, right, yeah. Hey, Ralph, how you doing? And he went, huh? And I said, you're Ralph Caruso, right? And he said, no. And I'm thinking, okay, the next thing he's going to say is, I'm Brandon Inge, his dad, whatever. I'm Dwight Inge. And he didn't say that. Instead, he came up with, no, I'm friggin' Fred Schnickelhoffer or something. He came up with another fake name. And I said, well, are you going around telling people you're Dwight Inge and Brandon Inge's dad? And he says, not me. And he gets in the car. So I was like, well, he's lying then. He's making this up because I asked the people in the store just 2 seconds earlier, did that guy just come in here and say he was Brandon Inge's dad? And they said yes. And
what was he getting out of that, Rob?
Prestige. He was.
He wasn't stealing.
But it wasn't
anything
Why did he
illegal.
say it was Verlander's dad? I mean, Brandon Inge's dad might be, your kid sucks!
Okay,
Exactly.
interestingly, the update.
Hey, kid, hit the ball!
The update would be after he was outed as being Brandon Inge's dad, and it went all over the internet, and people wrote stories on it and all of that kind of stuff. About a year later, he said he was Verlander's dad. That's
right.
He changed it to Verlander's dad.
He upgraded.
So, I mean, what did he get out of it? I don't know. I mean, prestige, being somebody, and that is a pathetic thing.
No, those people that's scary when people are doing stuff like that.
It is scary when people
you don't want to
do
be
stuff
mixed
like
up with
that.
someone like that. If they're lying about that, what else are they lying
Well,
about?
and
It's
he
enough.
was promising things to people. He was promising things to people, and he was walking and approaching young people, teenagers, and saying things like, "Would you like tickets to the Tigers game? I can get you $22 tickets. Well, give me your address. And so then you go, your kid comes home and says, hey, we met Brandon Inge's dad at the park, and we
showed me his
he's
junk.
going to give us tickets to the Tigers game. And you go, well, how are you going to get the tickets? He said, well, he took our address down. Well, now you've got a real problem, because you're saying, well, who was this guy? Well, yeah, he looked like he was about 80 years old. Well, Brandon Inge is only 23, or however old he was at the time. So, I don't air a story if I don't think it's right. In that case,
I
knew
a process too. It's not up to us. So there's several people who have to say,
right,
this is worthwhile.
But that was one of those stories where I knew I was going to take a little bit of flack. But honestly, the other thing is about being a good reporter, and when you get the hate mail, and you guys know from being in broadcasting and all this, when you get the hate mail or you get that thumbs down on your videos, or you suck and all that kind of stuff, I
can do a lot better than that.
Yeah, well, whatever. When you get that, of course, nobody likes to see that. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think it's good to have a story. Of course, I did the Chrysler story years ago with the guys drinking and smoking pot, and I took a lot of hits for that. I mean, it was a lot of hits too. Yeah, it was
right there in the parking lot.
Well, I don't, not those kind of hits, but
that was so irrational.
There were a lot, and I appreciated it. I remember, Drew, you and Mike really stuck up for me on that story, and the thing is that there was no question it was wrong, but there were a lot of people that thought, oh, this is just a small part of our workforce. And the thing is that I'm not really doing a good job as a reporter if I don't sometimes make people mad, because you can't make everybody mad. Sometimes the truth makes people mad. And that was the truth. These guys were going to the park and they were partying.
One of the things I really want people to hear is you tell about your first confrontation way back in, where is it? Fresno or
right. Okay.
Needles, California or something.
All right. I was in Fresno, and I was mentioning this to you, and I don't even know if I've ever told this story. I don't think I have. Okay,
breaking news. That'll be breaking news.
I don't know if
put on the red shovel wire.
I don't know if the story's all that great.
Breaking news with Mort Krim.
By the way, Drew.
Yes.
I was on the Detroiters.
You were?
Yeah. I've heard you bitching because you didn't get asked to be on the Detroiters.
I wasn't on.
I know.
Everyone was on. Everyone was on but me.
You're goddamn right. I was on the damn Detroiters.
How did you get on?
They called me up and said they wanted me to, they had a segment on the show that Mort Krim was doing called the Chump of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds kind of familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
They called you up and said,
I've seen you before. You're the asshole on TV.
That was what they said. No, they did. The guys from the show actually called me up and they said, we're doing a thing called the Chump of the Week. Obviously, it's kind of a takeoff on the Hall of Shame, and we want you to participate in it. And so if you watch those episodes of the Detroiters, I'm the guy saying, and now it's time for Mort Krim's Chump of the Week.
You know who pissed me off? Dale Stern, the principal of Diana Lewis Elementary, who permanently canceled Pizza Fridays. Now, if pizza's not healthy, how come I've never seen a fat Italian? You, sir, are a pepperoni.
Now, you rookie investigative reporters don't know what's happening here, but Rob is trying to get us off of that story.
Yes, it's a great story.
That forlorn afternoon in Fresno.
No,
Rob, can I just ask quickly, was your voice on the show?
My voice was on the show. I just did voice.
That's better than, I got nothing. I mean, it's supposed to bring out all the people that were important when their childhood.
I know.
Detroit. Somehow they just completely missed our show.
I'm not saying that you didn't deserve to. I would have put you on too. As far as I'm concerned,
this week's Trump
you guys
is my son's best friend, Tucker. If you're coming to someone's house for a sleepover, you don't get a nosebleed. That's all my stuff you bled on, Tucker.
So, Luke
Skywalker, you switched off your battle computer. Stay on target. Stay on target.
So whenever the Chump of the Week
you don't have to blow up the Death Star. Just blow up the damn Fresno story.
Whenever the Chump of the Week would play, I would that was my voice, and I got paid. So
sweet.
Yeah, so it was cool. So I'm sorry, Drew. I didn't mean to. Now,
no Fresno story, no check.
Very mad
my
now.
voice on TV.
Okay. So, anyways,
Fresno.
All right, Fresno.
I was just wondering, what's your favorite top? No, Fresno. Go to Fresno. Fresno.
I only mentioned it because I side with Drew. Drew and Mike should have definitely been on the show.
Well, that's why the show's canceled now.
Fresno.
Fresno. Okay.
First Hall of
Shame.
So I was a regular general assignment reporter, and I was asked to do this thing that they called the on your side thing. So I had to go bust this guy, and his name was not Huel as in Perkins.
Huel is good.
Yes, no, this guy's name was Ewell, and he was a guy who owned a bunch of bars in Fresno, and he was also a guy who owned a bunch of apartment complexes. Well, the story was about how the people that were living in the apartment complex, there were two gentlemen who had an apartment together, and they worked a lot of hours, and their electric bill was always, I don't know, $125 a month, right? So they kind of did a little experiment where they didn't use their electricity hardly at all for a whole month to see what their electric bill would be. And it was actually like then $130 a month. So they're like, oh, well, what is the deal here? So the one guy goes to the circuit box, right, in his apartment, and he flips the switches on the circuit box, and his roommate says, all the lights outside went off. So they figured out they were paying for lighting for the whole complex, right? So they had,
which is where the bar was and everything else.
So their breakers were controlling the garage door, all the garages, like, it was a big apartment complex. So that's why they were getting these big things. So I thought, this is a great story. I'm going to go after this guy and all this kind of stuff. And I was scared, and I didn't know exactly how it was going to go, and I thought I was prepared. Anyways, I went there, and I met up with this Yule guy, and he was a big dude, and he ran a bunch of bars, so he certainly wasn't intimidated by me. And I went up, yes, Mr. Yule, sir, I'd like to, and I went up, and the dude ate me alive. I mean, he beat me up. I mean, he destroyed me. I asked him a bunch of questions. He had great answers to them. He showed me in the contract where it said in the fine print that some outside lighting could be paid for by residents of the thing. You're signing it in the lease. Nowadays, I would say things like, yeah, well, is that fair? But instead, I looked at it like, oh, well, I didn't see that, I mean, and the dude ate me alive, and it was terrible and embarrassing and humiliating and awful. I learned a great lesson. I watched it and learned, okay, how am I going to do this better? What can I do? And so I realized I had to prepare. I had to know what was going to happen when, if he says this, what am I going to say? What's he going to do if I say this? And so, I go through all of these things in my head beforehand and try to know what I'm going to do in each situation, because you don't know. I mean, you can have a guy, people say, oh, yeah, he's a loudmouth. He's going to get all over your face and stuff. And then he'll say, oh, sorry, I don't want to talk right now. And it's like, what? All right, so what do you do in that situation? So you prepare yourself. So that was my first one, and I was terrible at it. It's not something that came naturally to me.
So how long before the next one?
Boy, I don't remember the second one, but it must have been better. I slowly got
a girlfriend who told me that one time.
Yeah, it's
second one was definitely better than the first one.
I slowly got better, but that first one
longer.
I mean, the guy destroyed me.
Do you ever have a guy totally disarm you by something they said? Like one time when I was at Channel 4, we confronted a guy. We didn't know if it was really him, and he had a garage attached to the house, so we didn't know whether he's going to open the garage or just drive right out of it. And he walked out. We got out on him right away. And I introduced myself, and at first he says, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I love your stuff."
Yeah, I know.
And I was just like, okay, yeah, but why do you have all these parts? And by the way, you are the guy who you are supposed to be, right? It was a disaster. It was just horrible.
Well, yeah,
don't try that again, by the way. Now.
Yeah, if you ever see one of these two, just say, I love your work.
That won't work.
But people don't love your work, sir, and here's why. We're ready now. Exactly. I'm not giving away the magic tricks here.
I think the probably one of the weirdest ones to me was
kissed you on the mouth?
No,
there's the Christmas party. Sorry.
I went to this guy. They were flipping dogs. It's called the dog flippers, and they were flipping dogs,
like selling them at a higher price.
So what they were doing is it was this couple, this young, attractive couple, and they would answer ads on. They would answer ads on Craigslist, and then they would go. So somebody would say, "I'm moving to Alabama, and I can't take my dog with me. We just love Fluffy and this and that. We're just looking for a nice home for the dog." Yeah. And then they would go there, and they would be this couple, and they had a Cadillac, and they appeared to be very religious, and they said, "Oh, we're just a nice Christian couple, and we'd love to take Fluffy," and blah, 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 blah. And they'd talk people out of their dogs, and the people would say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I got a nice, safe dog." Well, the very next day, they'd sell the dog on Craigslist for $125, purebred poodle, whatever the hell, right? So it was just really nasty. And so when I went to confront this guy, so I looked him up, and he had a record for assault with intent to murder. I mean,
damn.
It was a really bad charge. I mean, he almost killed somebody. And so I went and I saw the wife, and I said, "Hey, Maria, will you talk to me?" And she went running in and this and that. And out comes the guy. I said, I still remember. I said, "And now here comes the big dog," right? And this guy comes out, and I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to do? And he says, I said, "Hi, Rick." I said, "I want to ask you a little bit about dogs." And he says, "Have you accepted the word of Jesus today?"
Oh, I remember this.
Right?
Yes.
And so now, remember, I'm on camera, right? So I'm thinking, well, boy, they don't teach you this in broadcasting school, you know? So I'm thinking, well, I don't want to...
They don't teach you any of this.
Yeah, I don't want to appear disrespectful to this guy, you know, right? So I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm a Christian. Sure, I've accepted the word of Jesus. You know, well, you know, and he starts preaching and going on with more of this stuff. And he's really... hitting hard, and I can't interrupt him. And I said, okay, Rick, well, now, you know, and then I had to talk him out of the Jesus stuff and get him onto the dog subject, which I managed to do. But to me, that's like one of those ones where it was like, Jesus, what? You know, I thought you were going to come out and punch me. You know, now you want to talk about Jesus. And like I said, how are the viewers going to take that? If I say, I don't want to talk about Jesus, you know,
or what do you say? Like, gee, you mean Jesus, that Chihuahua you just sold to somebody the other day?
You know, and like I said, I didn't have any problem with saying, well, as a matter of fact, I have accepted Jesus into my heart. I'm a Christian, Christ. You know, no problem, you know. And then he accused me of not being a good Christian, and it was crazy stuff.
Well, he's the guy flipping dogs.
Yeah, he's flipping dogs. And then,
that's not very Christian.
Well, absolutely.
And, you know, dog backward
is God. Exactly. Right. Yeah. That was
like he's flipping God
off.
That
was one of the lines I used in the story.
Oh.
I don't want to talk about
stories seem much shorter on TV.
I want to talk about
actually.
Dogs. You know, so what's that?
The stories seem much shorter on TV.
No, they're long. Okay. They're just put together better. You invited me on your damn show, pal. Okay.
You know indirectly who invited you on the show?
Who's that?
They may be regretting it now.
Who's that?
Dr. Yaldo.
Who?
Dr. Yaldo.
Dr. Yaldo did?
He's accepted 20/20 vision into his heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes. It's awkward segue. Take advantage of advanced
that
technology.
Sure was.
It's a personal choice, just like answering a question.
Another
from Bob
advertiser
Wolchek.
dropping.
That's right. That's right. He's just like, wear your damn Coke bottle glass. I'm done with these losers. But you don't have to have a $1,000 smartphone, a luxury car, your own 70-inch 4K big screen. But it's real nice if you can afford them. Same goes for custom LASIK and the amazing multifocal lens implants. The difference? They eventually pay for themselves because you never again need to buy new frames, lenses, contacts, cases, fluids, or deal with breakage year after year. Dr. Yaldo is Michigan's leader in both those categories with over 50,000 combined procedures performed. He's also a supporter, friend, benefactor of all of us at the Red Shovel Network. Multifocal implants for people about 45 and over who have reading issues, and LASIK for you millennials and Gen Xers will save you money on the long run and give you great 24/7 vision, or vision 24/7. It'd be 20/20 vision 24/7 without any of those ancient technologies. You'll leave Dr. Yaldo's office and say, that's it, 5 minutes, no pain? Why did I wait so long? So don't wait. Enjoy the summer without sweating up your glasses or diving into the pool with your contacts in. Go with the best. The evaluation is free. Call 1-800-398-EYES or go to Yaldo Eye Center.
So everybody there will be able to see me when I come and do a Hall of Shame on him.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. And once again, I'm just kidding. I'm just being. I'm making this as hard as possible for you guys.
But one of the things that
please don't make this joke about
this
all the advertisers.
I think you've been doing this.
I have never received a bad letter on Dr. Yaldo either. So I've never heard one about David Hall nor this Yaldo.
These guys are both fantastic.
Yes, they're fantastic.
What an endorsement.
Yes, one of the things
not to not get a Hall of Shame complaint.
Well, everybody's gotten a Hall of Shame complaint. I mean, I tell businesses all the time.
This hasn't even been posted. I'm getting messages from both of them saying we're out. Forget it. Bring back that Schaefer guy. But you touched on something that I think is something I experienced, which is you're not taught how to do this. There's no training for this. And when I went to Channel 4, I had lots of fits and starts before figuring out how to do these encounters.
Yes, you were terrible.
Very bad, very bad. And I had one where
you've gotten a lot better at Fox too.
I've left a lot of room for growth still, like in the podcasting business. This is very basic. We're going to be good in about 20 years. But the one confrontation I really remember was we were sitting on a house where Kilpatrick's uncle lived because we wanted to ask him why he was still driving a city car when the mayor said he was going to take away all the city cars. And no one was coming out. And you know that point where you're like, did we get here too late? Is everybody gone? How long should we stay here? Like real hardworking people are at work by now, but we're dealing with dirt bags, so maybe they'll still be in there. And sure enough, he drives away. And in this case, we had 2 cars. So one of them was behind him and we were in front of him. And he started, instead of passing us, he just followed us until we realized this dude is following us. So we had to stop and we're sitting in the car. And we're like, okay, what do we do now? We usually wait for people to stop and then get out and talk to him. We're now stopped and he's not getting out of the car. And we eventually decided, well, I guess we'll have to get out of the car and just ask him some questions. And he rolled down his windows and it was very ridiculous. And in the end, it worked out. But this is all trial and error. And with the exception of Steve Wilson, who did it very well here, I don't know that anybody in this town does it better than you. I don't know that anybody in this town has been doing it longer than you. I mean, starting out from the time at the Dumont Network and then all the way to Fox.
Gramophone.
That's right. Thomas Edison said, this Wolchek guy's got something. As someone who didn't want to do this in the first place, when you look back at all these years of doing it.
Scott Lewis was really good.
Scott Lewis was very good.
Scott Lewis was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very fortunate that when I came here, I was also working with Scott Lewis. So, I mean,
but you were doing this in California.
I was doing it in California, but working with Scott was the friggin' greatest.
Every once in a while, I go see our web master, and I say, well, because I don't really look at numbers, and I'm grateful that Fox 2 doesn't. They say if it's a good story, you do it, and that's really how it should work. But I'll say, how did that story do? Did it do pretty well on the web? It's like sometimes, like, oh yeah, that one did really well. Other times, it's like that one didn't really catch on. Don't worry about it. Sometimes it happens. I said, well, what kind of stuff are we doing that really gets a good response? He's like, pretty much everything Wolchek does. I'm like, Wolchek!
No, they didn't say that.
They did.
No way.
They did. Oh,
no,
yeah.
I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that. Because I've had stories the same. It's
They tell
like,
Rob everything Elric does well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a mind screw.
No, they wouldn't lie that badly. But
so thanks for coming on, Rob. It's time for some of Rob's gayest secrets.
You have to understand. I give ML a very hard time, and I like ML
and a lot
much.
of back rubs, which is creepy.
I do. We tease each other a lot, and I give him a hard time. I'm kind of a dick, so
I got to tell you, the first time I saw Rob outside of TV, it was at the Emmys, and it was my first year at Channel 4, and so they invited me to be one of the presenters because they try and get the new guys involved and all that. And a guy from a station in Flint who was a longtime Flint guy, he had left a station to become anchor at a new news station, and he was and they had just pulled the plug on it. So he goes up to take his Emmy, and he goes, a lot of good people lost their jobs when they bailed out on us, but this Emmy Award reminds us of why we got into this, that the work matters and that this is really important. And it was really moving, and I got up and clapped, and I was really, it was powerful. And the next guy who goes up there to get an Emmy is Rob. And Rob goes, hey, somebody get that guy a job. And I thought, who is this asshole? And so for years I was like, Fox 2, but this Rob Wolchek, man, I'll tell you what, I got to.
I was concerned for that guy.
And I love this guy now. It's weird. I don't know what happened. Maybe we're getting some funky water at the plant or something like that, but he's a really good colleague. He does care a lot. He's very funny. Not as funny as he thinks, but he's sort of, he's a singles hitter. But he's like Richie Ashburn. He's hitting 297. But he really does care about stuff. And there's a lot of things he does where you're sort of like, who was that guy at the Emmys? Because he was a dick.
No, I see. I kind of remember that. Yeah,
you know who that guy was?
Yeah.
Jim Kurtzner.
What's really? Is that what Jim said?
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He got a
No
job.
kidding.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Thanks to Rob, he got a job.
Yeah, I know. It's
Well, anyways, yeah, I don't know.
so his family didn't live in Iowa. Twice as many people would watch his stories on
Was it-
Channel 7.
Was that right before he came to Channel 7?
No, he was at he came to Channel 4 not long after that to be the investigative producer when I was there. So I became friends with Jim, and I told him that story. He's like, well, you know, that I'm sure he's okay. I'm like, no, we hate Rob. Well, let's go get Rob.
Isn't
He's
he
like,
at Channel 7 now?
Yeah.
He's at Channel 7
Yes.
now.
Yeah. I
He's
know
doing
who that
great.
guy is.
He's
Yeah,
great.
he's all right guy.
He's a very good reporter.
Yeah, he's a good reporter. I like the guy. I know, I feel really uncomfortable.
Do you
with
like
those
him as
types
much
of-
as you like Ross Jones?
Let's not mention Ross. I don't really pay attention to people at the other stations. I'm a very competitive person, and I root for Fox 2, and I root for myself, and I admit it. When I'm at those award ceremonies, I want to win.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you and I were in
you're hardcore.
If you were and I were in a contest against each other,
ridiculous.
and I was to lose, I would be furiously mad, and I'm a poor loser.
I think we found out who shot my car.
But fortunately, I'm not that bad. Fortunately, I seem to win those things, so I'm.
There are a lot of trophies behind your desk.
Yes, I've done very well for myself with the awards.
That one that says most selfish lover, though, that's an ironic award, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I didn't read the awards. I just know there's.
Yeah.
Is there one Hall of Shame that you hold above all others, like the one that is just your masterpiece? You're glad you took this evil person down. The story was well done. Is there one that stands out for you?
And I get asked that question all the time. I wish I had.
How
an
common
answer.
of me.
I do. I get asked. Well, I get the questions I always get are, has anybody ever punched you in the face?
I already asked that.
Yeah. And then I get the, what's your favorite Hall of Shame story? And I don't really have one. I think I like all of my stories. Like I'm working on a story that I'm going to do next month, and I'm real excited about it. And that's the good thing, is that I'm really excited about this story. I really want to do this story. And I really am a common guy. So it's a thing where I don't think I'm real smart. I don't think I know business.
Check.
What's that?
I just want to make sure the mic's
No,
on.
no. I'm just I consider myself a very average Joe guy. I don't have any kind of special education.
Well, you're a
or
DJ
anything like that.
I mean,
Yeah. I was a
everything you
DJ.
learned is from doing it.
I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to play records. That's
Scott
what
Roberts?
I did for several years, and I played records. And then I thought, I turned 30, and I said, well, what can I do for a living? And then I watched TV, and I said, well, those guys, they get to work on their 11 o'clock news. I don't have to get up early. As you know, I'm not really a morning person. And
I wouldn't know that because I'm not either. Unless it's for to get somebody.
I gotta
get up at 4.
Yeah, I gotta get up I have to be in court on Friday, so we do sometimes have to get up. But anyway,
they will find you
I got into it
innocent.
just because I thought I could do it, and then I did it, and I started interning, and I just seemed to be pretty good at it.
Well, Rob, do you mind sticking around to sing a song for Room 7609?
What is Room 7609?
That's where we do new wave hits.
Sure.
You could do a Depeche Mode tune or.
Rob was geeked about the specials being on Kimmel.
Yeah.
English beat
That's what I mean.
fan?
He's got a good taste in music.
Yeah, no, I do have good taste in music. I'm one of those people that got into music or got into being a DJ because I wanted to play music. I thought, ooh, I'm going to go on the radio and I'm going to play the best songs and all that kind of stuff. And as
Everly
I was
Brothers.
mentioning to Drew earlier, I was a terrible country DJ.
What was the most difficult country name you had to pronounce?
Oh, they had a bunch of weird names. Narvel Feltz, I remember, was a guy. I mean, that was a real guy's name.
Did you have to do
here's
Joachim?
What's that?
Did you have to do D. White Joachim?
No.
That's a great name.
Dwight Yoakam was way later. And I actually could handle some Dwight Yoakam songs.
Okay. He was great in Sling Blade.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't he? Oh, I love that movie. That's
I
like
love
one of
when
my
he got the
favorite-
Sling Blade.
Yeah,
that was a highlight.
Yeah, well, Dwight didn't get the Sling Blade. He got
He did,
he got it in the head. Yeah. So
That great band in Sling Blade.
yeah. No, he was great. I mean, he's one of the country guys I could really dig. But hey. Oh yeah, I know. God, he was so great. Yeah, that and Billy Bob Thornton. God, that was such a great role.
Y'all don't shut up. I'm going to go out of my mind.
Yeah, no, Narvel Feltz. I remember I had to play a song called $60 Duck. Seriously, that was a country hit. And I don't remember who did it, but I had to go on every day and say, yeah, 1280 Crazy Country. And here comes whoever it is and his big hit, $60 Duck.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. And
that's how much he made in royalties.
And I was a guy that I grew up playing Aerosmith and Ted Nugent and, that kind of stuff. Was that $60 Duck?
It's a $60 Duck.
No way.
Louis
Talk
Wickham?
it up.
Oh, I don't remember.
One afternoon, there's a man at my door. He's nobody I've ever seen before, but he's yelling and screaming. He's really
$60 Duck. Who is it?
Louis Wickham.
And all right, give me the intro again.
Sounds like a #1 hit tune.
Give me how long's the intro? What do I got? What's my walk up?
Oh boy, maybe 10 seconds. Pretty quick.
1280 Crazy Country. Hey, it's Scott Roberts with you. Here comes a little $60 Duck for you.
One afternoon.
Nice.
Oh,
no,
hit the mark.
Smacked it.
I couldn't remember his name though.
You didn't have time for the name.
Yeah.
You instinctively pared it down to just the bare essentials.
Well,
Crush the intro.
When you do that for a living, honestly, as ridiculous as that may seem, and Drew can certainly attest to this, you used to practice that stupid thing. You
Absolutely no.
You would sit there and be like, all right, hot-blooded by Foreigner, 16-second intro, and you'd sit there and say, it's Drew Lane in the afternoon. You time it up and try to get it right. And I loved being a jock. I mean, I enjoyed it for years and years, but then I just got to the point where it was like, I'm not that good at it. I don't really have a very good voice, as you probably realize.
Distinctive.
It's a good voice, and it served me well. Let's put it that way.
I'd say. Is there anything, any other confessions you'd like to make before you reject Jesus and flip a dog or step on a poodle or whatever it is you do on your spare time?
No, I don't have any confessions to make.
Any burning questions here from the hoi polloi?
There's so many great stories. I love the turf team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We played those drops ever since then. We lost them for a while. We have them back, and I'm delighted to have them back.
You know what? And that was why I sent because you guys asked about it, and I sent it, and I said I never hear him use those drops anymore because those were great drops. Get the F out of here, or whatever he says.
Get the out of here.
Yeah, can you? Oh man, that was great.
Let's not act like we're 3 years old here. If you're going to state a sentence, don't just state a blanket sentence. Be real specific.
Yeah, be real specific. That was his big complaint with every customer.
I remember another good one. The guy, I think he was a TV repairman, and he slurred you. He called you a slur, and I remember going, I didn't know Rob was Jewish. And
he called me a hook-nosed Jew, and he called me a Jew bastard. I believe he used a couple of other things.
I think
That's exactly what Mark. I had the same reaction. Wait, is Rob Jewish?
Well. So and once again, the school of they don't teach you this in broadcasting school. So he's calling me these things, and I'm not Jewish. So it's like
not that there's anything wrong with it.
But
I mean, it's like how do you react to that? Like, okay. I mean, so whatever. I don't remember how I responded to it, but it was like, it
kind of falls flat.
I had a guy once also call me, and I hope I don't get in trouble for using these ethnic slurs. These are people that somebody called me this. Guy called me a wetback. The guy called me a wetback, and I was like, do you know what a wetback is?
Do you know what that slur refers to?
But actually, I think I said something like, "Man, that's low." When you start attacking my ethnicity, man, so because it's obvious that I'm not of Hispanic persuasion, but yeah, so. I don't know. I mean, how do you react to that stuff? How do you react to a guy coming and shoving at you and stuff? Well, and you want to look good on camera, and you want to make sure you get the questions in, and that's it. Did I talk too much?
No, we already dumped one of our segments to make it all fit. So
we were dumping two of them.
Well, that's what you get for.
Hey guys.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. Together all night, you've got the time.
This is not a sports podcast, so we've had to call an audible. We have put great debate and Geek of the Week on hiatus, even though we had some really, really good ones. If you want to call me later personally, we can debate some stuff. But we are keeping our guest DJ Scott Roberts here with us, otherwise known as Rob Wolchek, as we saunter into...
Do you think we should explain why I was Scott Roberts?
Well, they're going to listen to the first segment because you were a DJ.
Oh, did I say that
Yeah.
the first? Well, that shows
Rob's again getting a little into his dotage here.
I don't
but
know what I taught.
He's usually not up this late unless he's flipping a poodle or accepting the Lord Jesus into his heart, which is interesting for a Jewish Mexican man. But that's the kind of guy he is. He loves everybody and everything. But we are in room 769, very crowded here with Mr. Fellhauer, Mr. Wolchek. Drew Wave is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
For a tune. I don't know if you've heard this one before. I know you like Madness, and I know you like.
I do.
You have a taste for the ska, but this is a underappreciated, I think,
Are we guessing
somewhat
the song
obscure Madness. If you got to guess,
we're guessing the song. What is the game?
well, we're gonna play it, and we're just trying to shed a little spotlight on some high quality new wave music that people may have either forgotten, missed, or will be grateful that we've introduced them to, and they'll shower us with praise and possibly donations.
That's what you wanted to do, Rob.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, you it's good you got out of radio. And here's Madness with any guesses?
It's not our house.
Is it Love?
He's about to give it away.
Is it Love? Right?
About to give it away.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
He's walking where I'm afraid I don't know.
I don't even know this
I see
song.
the firemen jumping from the windows. There's panic and I hear somebody scream. He picks up useless paper and puts it in my pocket. I'm trying very hard to keep my fingers clean. I can't remember, tell me what's his name.
My name is Michael Caine.
And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep on home. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep. The sun is laughing, it's another broken morning. I see a shadow and call out to try and warn him. He didn't seem to hear, just turned away. The quiet fellow follows, points his finger straight at you. He had to sacrifice his pride, yes, throw it all away.
I am Michael Caine.
And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep on home. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep. His days are numbered, he walks round and round in circles. There is no place he can ever call his own. He seems to jump at the sound of the phone. Staring at the window, there's nothing he can do. All he wanted was to remain sane. He can't remember his own name.
My name is Michael Caine.
And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep on. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph. And all I wanted was a word, a photograph to keep. And all I wanted was a word.
So long before Dr. Dre, even before that, before Big Audio Dynamite got into sampling, Michael Caine was kind of drafted by Madness for a pretty cool tune.
Yeah, I was just reading about it too, and I guess he had to approve the sample, and he didn't really want to be in a song. I don't know, he probably didn't get it.
I mean, Michael Caine, who's never turned down a movie role ever, said, I don't want to be in a really cool band's tune.
He probably didn't get it. He probably didn't understand it, but his daughter knew how big Madness was at the time and said, Dad, you should probably do it. And the song is about, the Troubles in Northern Ireland, which I think we've talked about a couple times. A lot of the new wave songs in the UK from that time period seem to reference the Troubles in one way or another.
Or Margaret Thatcher. I mean, music used to be so much more political, and it drives me crazy when I think of some of the crazy stuff that went on under George W. Bush, when I think of some of the stuff going on right now. Where is all the great music? When we had Reagan, when we had nuclear annihilation on the brain, when we had the evil empire, there was some great music. There's so much good music that came out because people hated Margaret Thatcher. So we have all this trauma now and all this drama and no good music.
Well, so you wonder
Katy Perry.
So you wonder why Michael Caine, like, how does that relate to the Troubles? And he said he didn't want it to be so obvious. It's about informants and being locked up, that the Michael Caine is just a total red herring.
Well, now that really stupid video makes sense. If you've ever seen the video for this, it makes no sense unless you have that backstory, which means as a video it fails. But I guess if you're into deep cuts like we obviously are here in Room 7609, it makes sense. So Madness, Michael Caine, listen to those horns, listen to that great bass playing. I mean, Suggs' lyrics, always very good. It's everything that Room 7609 is about. Of course, we would like to hear from you if you have a suggestion for us for our great debate next week, for Geek of the Week, for Room 7609. We've had a couple suggestions. We will evaluate those and get back to you on those. Maybe we'll even pick one. You can send us an email at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. You can call us at 313-Butterfield-89070, which for those of you who don't appreciate really schlocky Elizabeth Taylor films is 313-288-9070, but watch the movie because she looks amazing in that nightgown. Something about Elizabeth Taylor and silk. We'd like to thank our sponsors, ask them for their indulgence, and give us another week to get this thing right. And, of course, you can become a sponsor once we chase off all the legitimate cats. Mark, how do they do that?
mlsoulofdetroit.com. There's a little tiny button at the top that says donate. We'll take any or all of your money.
Yeah, it appears that button is not working. Maybe you're the one who can help us test it by making a little cha-ching. And pretty soon we're going to be in the Drew and Mike show merchandise store where you can get an autographed copy of the Kwame Sutra, maybe some other groovy swag. So keep an eye out for that. And, of course, if you have any spare time after we've taken an hour of your life, check out our other shows, the No Filter Sports with Eli, Denny, and Bob, the Charlie LaDuff No BS News Hour, the flagship Drew and Mike podcast. We're all part of one great network, which you've been listening to. That's the Red Shovel Network. Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Frontier Gentleman was written, produced, and directed by
Drew Lane
and stars
M.L. Elric
as J.B. Kendall. Featured in the cast were Joe Kearns, Don Diamond, Virginia Gregg, and Herb Ellis. Music was composed and conducted by
Sean Windsor.
Now stay tuned for the
Drew and Mike Show,
which follows immediately over most of these same stations. Join us again next week for another report from the Frontier Gentleman.
Mark Fellhauer speaking.
This is the
Red Shovel Network.